We are going to have an amazing show today. That's because we have an amazing guest. That's because you're here and you're amazing. So we're going to have a good time. Do me a favor, light up the comment section. Let me know that you're here. Type in the word here and also tell me what state or city or now country that you're listening to the show from, and share the stream with your friend. This is going to be a really good show. Hey, what's up? I'm Tony Taylor. Are you here for Leaders Lead the podcast? Let's go. Hey, how did you beat me? Look, let me tell you about this podcast. We got like 5 seconds. Leaders Lead the podcast is about leadership. Not just the leader without, but the leader within. All of these leaders that I'm talking to across the country, well, across the world now, they have one thing in common, and that's that they have overcome some insurmountable obstacles to get to where they're at today. Come on, let's go. Hey, welcome to Leaders Lead the podcast. I am super excited today for this show is the first episode of season 2. I'm super excited. I got some really good news. I just found out this week that we are in the top percentile of all podcasting across the world. That's globally. It's a big deal. We're also ranked 163 in the management and leadership section. Can you believe that? I cannot believe it. I'm excited. So I was thinking about how can we celebrate this occasion? How can we give back, right? Because I want to give back to y'all. Y'all are the reason why we have this podcast. Y'all are the reason why we've been able to be so successful. We've only had one season, 23 episodes, and we're been able to do some amazing things. So I want to give back to you. My wife is probably watching this right now, and she's probably like, don't let the cat out of the bag. We got some pretty big partnerships coming right now. But what I want to do is for everybody that's subscribed to Leaders Lead the podcast, whether you're on Apple, whether you're on Diesel, whether it's through Audible, if you go ahead and you leave a review, you subscribe, right? Subscribe and leave a review, a good one. Don't talk trash about me. Now you can talk trash. Just tell me what you think about the show. And what we'll do is we will pre-enroll you in some of the gifts and prizes that we have going forward. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started. It looks like it's saying we're having trouble streaming to LinkedIn. They were doing the same thing yesterday, but anyway, we're going to go ahead and I want to introduce to you somebody I've been following for a very long time. I think the first time I've ever seen him, or I know the first time I ever seen him was on a commercial. His name is Ray Leonard Jr. He is an amazing dude, man. He has such an impeccable record. I'm going to go ahead and show you this commercial.
Feeling 7-Up, I'm feeling 7-Up. Sharing styles, sharing smiles, feeling 7-Up. 7-Up. It's a crisp, refreshing feeling. Crystal clear and light, clear and memories turning 7-Up. And it sure feels right. Feeling like 7-Up.
Good, huh?
Wow, was that the stick? No, that's just my dad.
Feeling 7-Up, I'm feeling 7-Up.
Hey, welcome to the show, Ray Leonard Jr.
Hey, what's going on, Tony? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How many times have you seen that commercial?
Oh my goodness! Now you taking me way back. That is kind of the first thing that people say when they hear my name. The commercial is over 40 years old now, and it seemed like it lived forever. They don't pay me the same residuals anymore, but for a while it was very good.
Oh wow! So, man, you're at least 40. You don't look like 40 years old, man.
I just turned 48 on the 22nd of November.
Oh wow, man! Hey, congratulations and happy birthday! You're a good-looking dude, man.
Thank you, man. I'm hurt on the inside, not on the outside.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Doing that, I remember watching that commercial when I was a kid, and I kind of like envisioned myself being one of those other kids, like like seeing your dad and being like, oh my God, that's Sugar Ray Leonard. Like, oh my God, oh my God. And then you turned around and you're like, oh man, that's just my dad. What was it like to do something like that at such a young age? I've always been curious about that.
And you know what? When I look back on that, it was surreal. One of the other kids, the redhead kid, is like a big time producer of reality TV shows in LA now. But back then, I was born in Palmer Park, Maryland. My mother was 15. My father was 16 when I was born. We didn't have much at all, and all of a sudden, my father wins the gold medal in the Olympics, and then wins a world championship against Wilfredo Benitez, and our life just kind of changed like overnight. It went so quickly to go from having nothing to having access and everything, and people knowing who you are. So when we did that commercial, I didn't want to do that commercial. I was scared to death. No, I ain't doing no commercial. So my father had to bribe me and said he would buy me a 3-wheel motorcycle to actually do the commercial. So that's a little inside information. That's why I did the commercial, not knowing that you would get paid and have residuals and have your face splattered all over and have ESPN name it the top 24 sports commercials of all time.
Yeah, it's like part of pop culture. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that they have in video museums and stuff like that. Man, that was a really, really good commercial. You brought up something that I was thinking about earlier. I was doing a little bit of research on you. You said your father won the gold medal, and then all of a sudden, boom, like y'all's family became, where your dad became a household name, and your family just kind of became in the spotlight. I think I read that it was like 14 of y'all living in a 2-bedroom house. Was that right?
Yes, there was 14 of us in a 2-bedroom house in Palmer Park, Maryland. Now the road used to be Allendale Drive, but now it's actually named after us. So it's Ray Leonard Road. But yeah, I mean, it was totally different back then. And the funny thing about it is that we were poor. I mean, we didn't have much at that time, but everybody knew our name. Like even after he came back from Olympics, any Olympic athlete knows, back then you really didn't make money from the Olympics. So you become a household name, you're popular, you still don't have anything. So it kind of messes with your head a little bit. But yeah, it's a humbling, interesting experience.
Yeah, I would imagine. I would imagine it was tough to kind of be a kid. I mean, going from that to basically, I think I read someplace else where your pops was like one of the highest grossing athletes at that time. Like, what was that like to go from sharing a room with all of those people to all of a sudden like being stinking freaking rich?
It was, it was a roller coaster ride because you go from having nothing, knowing nothing, not really knowing people, then you're in a room with these incredible dignitaries from all these different countries. I'm sitting with Nelson Mandela, meeting Sammy Davis Jr., Muhammad Ali, Queen of England. I mean, it was just so surreal to be in that space. And for us, it was part of the marketing campaign because there wasn't really many. I don't think any black families that were on TV, especially from an athletic family that were together and showed the family dynamic and atmosphere. And that was really strategically planned that we would be the kind of easygoing Cosby show kind of sports family. Well, not right now, but yeah, that was the thought process back then that we were going to be the similar to when. I'm not saying we made the same impact of a Jackie Robinson, but Jackie Robinson had to deal with a lot of issues and still keep his chin up and walk and be dignified and speak a correct way. No matter if I had a death threat from the Ku Klux Klan the night before, or if we had issues in the family, whatever was going on, we had to have a united front and smile and do the right thing and keep that image clean and cut for corporate America.
Wow, y'all got death threats from the KKK?
Oh yeah, there was kidnapping attempts on me, death threats. I had a bodyguard all throughout elementary school up through high school until I think my 10th grade or 11th grade year of high school when I said I don't need a bodyguard anymore. I'm
Wow.
big, but a guy 6'6", 300 pounds, Greg Spriggs, rest in peace, Greg. But yeah, he sat outside my classroom.
Are you serious? That must I would imagine that would be on one side, like really, really cool, and then on the other side, like freaking annoying.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I look back at it now. I mean, it was scary. It was intense. No, but how many people can go through their whole life and have majority of it documented on TV or film or newspaper or magazine or something like that? So when I have these conversations with my kids, I'm getting a little older now. I don't remember as much. I say, go to the tape, so you can see what it was like.
Wow. Is there anything is there anything that you would change about the way you grew up, or kind of the things that you've experienced kind of when you were coming up?
A lot of times we want to talk about, you would change things, adversities, issues that you went through. But without those issues and those things that I went through, I wouldn't be the person that I am today. I wouldn't have learned the same lessons. And so, I never look at, a issue or an obstacle as being something that you can't overcome or something that I need to change to make my life better. Would I like to make some better decisions at certain times? Absolutely. But the experiences has got me to this point, and like I say, when you know better, you do better.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And that's the name of I think that's the name of your podcast, right? Know better, do better.
Yeah, yeah. My grandfather told me that when I was young. My father's father. And this is a man with a sixth grade education, a sharecropper from South Carolina. And he was the wisest person I ever met in my life. He was a man of very few words, but when he spoke, you kind of got it. And he told me that, a long time ago, and I didn't really understand it until, I had some situations in my life that I had to overcome. And once I overcame it, beat those obstacles, it became clear to me what he meant. He's like, you learn those lessons from what you do. Things that you do either makes you better or makes you worse. And once when you have that wisdom, if you don't do better, it's on you.
Yeah. That I think I read that your grandfather was your idol. And I thought about my life when I was growing up. I looked up to my grandfather. Man, he was such an incredible dude. Whenever I would come home from school, he would always ask me, instead of like, how was your day or what did you do good? He would always ask me, what did you learn? What did you learn today? And I would always say, oh, I didn't learn nothing. He would go like, well, get back to school. If you didn't learn nothing, get back to school, because he would say, so that means you're coming home as the same dummy as you left to go to school, which was, which was, it sounds mean, but it was really impactful because I wanted to go to school to have something to say, right? To have something, to have learned something so that I can say to my grandfather, okay, this is what I learned. So um he being your idol when you were growing up, I would have thought that maybe it would have been your dad or something.
No, it wasn't. I mean, I took lessons from my father, from his discipline, his work ethic, his the way he studied before fights. But coming from an athletic family, I mean that's just what we did as athletes. My grandfather was a boxer in the Navy. My uncle was ranked number two in the world. My father's other brother, before he had his heroin addiction. Um, but I mean that's just kind of what we did, and so I was inspired by my father and the things that he accomplished. But when you're in the middle of it, it's hard to kind of digest it.
Yeah.
Hard to digest it. But the person that was kind of the stable that reminded me most of my demeanor was my grandfather, because he was just the guy that just plodded forward, didn't complain. He got up, he went to work.
Wow, that's amazing. You were an athlete yourself, right? I saw that you play ball in college, right?
Yeah, yeah. I played football and ran track and field at Ohio University in Athens, Ohio, in the Mid American Conference. I was a wide receiver and running back, and I was a high hurler and sprinter in track. Nobody would ever believe that because I'm at like 6'5", or 6'2" like most of the hurdlers are, but I was very fast in between the hurdles and could kick them down.
Wow. Wow. So yeah, and I asked you that because I know that your business acumen is very high. I heard about there's been a few different people that was like, dude, you got to meet Ray Leonard Jr. You got to meet him. You got to meet him. And then I think I saw your name when you were announced as the CEO of Ovations. How has like you being in sports helped you get to where you're at today, or did it have any effect at all?
Sports has had a major effect on me as a father, a CEO, a business person, because there's certain things you learn from sports, whether it's an individual sport or a team sport. From a team sport, you learn how to delegate, you learn how to do your job, learn how to, be a professional, and you understand that all the pieces have to work together to be successful. And a lot of organizations think here you got one powerful person at the top or CEO and they can work. No, you can have the best player on the field, and if no one else blocks for you and no one else does their job, it's not going to work out for you. So, I mean, that's one of the things that I take, and I take a team approach with the companies that I work with or the organizations that I run. And then individually, from the individual athletic sports, it's a thing of discipline and mindset that comes in. That you have to get up. You have no excuses. It's on you, to perform, and you have to prepare at a certain level to be successful. So, when I look back at it, I mean, sports means the world to me. I still work out. I still try to be as healthy as I can now, even though it's hard to get out of bed. But if anybody would tell you, I mean, if you really look at the discipline sometimes it takes to be in sports, there's a lot of similarities to business.
Wow, good deal. And you're a motivational speaker as well, correct?
By happenstance. That's another part of the plan. Now, people tell me about it. I've been doing it for the last 10 years, and actually people have been paying me to do it, which was a tremendous thing because it's something that I love to do and inspire and do for free. But basically, I was coaching, volunteer coaching, youth football with my son and some other kids in the neighborhood, and I would speak to them and give them, kind of nuggets to keep them inspired because I've been around some amazing athletes, all my life. I've been around the Michael Jordans. I've been around Chris Everett. I've been around my father, Muhammad Ali. I mean, people that have achieved so much, and so I learned and imparted, some of that knowledge to these kids. And one of my business partners, Dr. Joy Wright, her husband flew in the Navy, and was a former backseater at F-14s as well. And so she said, "When you come down to the base and speak to the sailors," I said, "Okay, I'll come down there and speak. I don't really know, how me saying something is going to have an impact on them, but I'll go down and do it if it's, I never got the chance to serve, but if it's my duty that I can do something, then I'm gonna go help." Went down there, spoke for like 30 minutes just from the heart, and they asked me to come back about 2 weeks later. "Can you do it again?"
2 weeks. That's
Yeah,
it. I love that.
I said, I don't know. I got to figure out something else to say. And so this kept going on for probably about 4 or 5 months. They kept asking me to go to different bases, different places to speak. And every time I went to speak, I was saying something different because, I just thought they need to hear something different. I get bored of hearing myself. But then when I started hearing the professional speakers that have their presentations set, and they told me this little nugget that here you're speaking to a different audience. They didn't hear your first presentation, so you have a different audience. So it's just like singing a song. You got your one song. You can go back and sing it to an audience that didn't hear it before. So I said, "Oh, well, that's much easier than me keeping up trying to figure something else out every single time." And 10 years later, man, I love it. And the biggest thing is when I go into these bases I've been to, Bahrain and Japan and Greece and Italy, Spain. I mean, all these amazing places, and speaking to the sailors or to the Marines. And when someone comes up to me afterwards and says, "What you said to me changed my life," or I was feeling a certain type of way where I didn't know if I wanted to live tomorrow, and what you said to me made a difference. That's more impactful than anything else I do in my life. And so, me being a motivational speaker or inspirational speaker is kind of the core of who I am.
Wow, that's so powerful. I had no idea that our voices can be used in that manner to uplift and to inspire people to where they would. Because I've heard that before, with somebody say that changed my life, and I'm like, well, that wasn't even my good stuff. Where do you where do you hear what I'm coming with next week? So do you speak mainly to folks in the military?
Well, it's kind of I would say 50-50. I do a lot of corporate stuff. I do a lot with high schools and with colleges. Now I'm headed to New York in a couple of weeks to do HBC Legacy presentation with Lee Kyoba and Michael B. Jordan and Serena. I mean, a whole big staff. I'm like, man, how do I get on the same stage with these folks? But I love the fact of being able to talk to the military, because my grandfather was in the Navy, and back in World War II, and he wasn't able to to be on the front lines. He had to be a chef because they wouldn't let him fight, and
Because of the color of his skin, right?
yeah, it was always a thing for him. That you honor the service, because he took so much pride in that, even though that he was a chef on the ship, that he took pride in being able to serve his country.
Wow. Wow, that is amazing. Have you always been comfortable speaking in public in front of people?
Yeah, and it's weird because I feel more comfortable on a big setting, talking to a lot of people, than I do in small intimate settings sometimes.
Wow.
And I didn't know it, and my wife kept telling me for years and years. She's like, "You have a gift to do it. Like, just do it." I'm like, "No, I'm not." Nobody wants to hear what I have to say. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. I heard you speak. Very, very impactful and powerful, man. I love, hearing some of the stories that you give. The company that you're with, Ovations, that's a speaker's platform, right?
yeah. And so when the pandemic happened, I was in a space where I made my speaking career was really taking off. I had about 60 paid speeches, and for 2020, and that was just the beginning of the year, and
Wow.
it was one of those things where I was like, man, here my this is my calling, and then all of a sudden I get phone calls and say, here, you know what? Yeah, we're going to push all these back, and so I was gutted. And I tried to find my way, started the podcast, started to do a lot of virtual presentations, and it was a void there that I saw from having the major speakers bureaus, and on one side, because you need to have all the big guys, and $50,000-$100,000 speeches, and then in the other side you have a cameo or somebody like that does a prepaid from a celebrity. But nobody was dealing with the talent in the middle, who are the subject matter experts, who are your everyday people that bring the knowledge. I don't really want to talk to the CEO of Twitter. I might want to talk to the number two in line, or people that develop the stuff behind the scenes, because I think they will have more information than me than just what the CEO has. Because at some point the CEO just sees so high level at a certain point. So how do you get those people to be able to monetize their time? It's like almost like an Uber for talent is my thought process.
Wow.
When you
Uber.
want to turn on your talent, be able to use it. I think that's an amazing thing to be able to do. We live in a day and age where we're able to, uh, approach people from a different standpoint. We have a metaverse going on. The Matrix is coming back. So you have to have a platform that allows people to be able to use their talents and monetize their time. You're able to have more people able to spend time with their families. To do what you want to do, you use your skill set to impact the world. And so I think there is a platform. It's my platform. I think there's a space there to actually do that. And so that's what we created.
How many speakers do you got on there right now?
Well, right now we're going into our alpha launch, and so we've taken basically our first 10 marketplaces of topics that we think people want to hear. And we're putting basically 10 people in each of those spaces. So we're only doing 100 right now. We're getting into the hands of our internal people and a select few people that can kind of go around and check and see how they like the platform. And then we'll go to a major launch once we get all the bugs and everything out, in early 2022. And man, it has been so exciting. I wish I could tell you all the people that are involved, the high level people, some amazing people that are lending their expertise.
I won't tell nobody, man.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some top comedians, because what we do on this platform is also allow, the transition spaces too, from comedians to musicians. If you're doing a whole event and you want to have an amazing speaker, if you're a director, a manager in Texas, you have a budget of $2,000 and you want to inspire your team, you can say, all right, here, let me go in here. Maybe I can see who's available in Texas. Maybe Dak Prescott or somebody like that. I can get him to come live virtually on my meeting, and I could pay him $500 and he comes in and talks to my team. Q&A.
Wow. Like, can you do it to where it's like that day?
You can do it that day. I mean, for some of the higher level people, you'll probably need 24 hours, but I mean, it could be if they're available, because there will be the availability, similar to, like I said, like almost like a Uber. If they have the green light on, you can go ahead and shoot your bid, shoot your shot.
Wow, man. I love that. And you all are working with, I think I saw Nobody Studios, correct?
Yeah, so it came to fruition. Nobody Studios is a venture studio that I'm a part of. And 100 impactful companies in 5 years. And so my company, Ovations, is one of the companies that is being built within this whole venture studio. And the cool thing about the venture studio with Nobody Studios is that normally, to be a venture capitalist, you have to have $250,000. You have to be certified. So it's not only available to 1% of the people. So we're crowd infused. We think we hit the biggest space is going to be talent. And so we're allowing anybody and everybody to be able to get involved.
Oh, wow. So that means I can put down in there, right? What's the buy-in?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I'm not gonna say that you're gonna have a majority stake, but you have the opportunity to be involved early on in the company. I mean, if you look at it, you look at Microsoft or Facebook or those big time companies. If you had $200, $1,000 in that company when it first started, before it had to go public, when you can only buy a fraction of a share for that amount. You'd be in a much different place. We all be in much different places.
Oh, yeah. And Ovations is going to be huge. So if anybody's watching, they might as well get on that right now, right?
Yeah, they talk about in the venture world about a unicorn, and the unicorn is that those companies that just pop and take over and are transformational. And I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to be a platform that gives the world, gives time and energy and control back to the people.
Man, I love that. I think that's beautiful. I know we're getting ready to close up here. I was going to ask you, man, you've been in the room with dignitaries, Muhammad Ali, all of the GOATs. What is like one of the craziest experiences you've ever been through? Or craziest things that you've been in the room and you could be like, man, did I really just see that?
Whew. There's so many. There's so many. I don't. I can't even talk about some of this stuff, but I can talk about a time where I was amazed at the power of people coming together. I was in a room. There was an awards program, but it turned into a meeting of the minds of how do we move our people forward. And I was sitting next to Nelson Mandela, David Dinkins, the former mayor of New York, Muhammad Ali, Ken
That's
Norton,
what you said. I was sitting next to Nelson Mandela.
Ken Norton, James Baldwin.
Oh,
Who else? Sammy Davis Jr. I mean, I have this picture, and I show this picture, and people look at it and like, how are you even around all these people together? But it was a conversation, and it was forward thinking, and it was about growth. And you see people of that stature that had that much influence to be able to come together and have a conversation about not themselves, about a people, about how do we move forward. And so it was a constructive conversation, and that gave me hope to know what in any dark shadow, there's always a light on the other side.
wow. That's amazing. So all those people were in the room, not for themselves, not to get money or anything like that, but they're trying to figure out a way to bring the world together. That's what it sounds like, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was insane to do it because you got the big award shows, the reception after everybody's mingling in, but somehow all these powerful people come to one room, and we're all in the room and we're sitting together around the table and just talking. And it was action-based talk. It wasn't just talk about, here, yeah, call me later, do this. It was like, all right, here, you do this, and I'm gonna call my person, and you do this, and this is what we're gonna do. And we're all united on how we move forward.
Wow. Wow, man. I'm super impressed by you, man. That is really, really amazing. What is the biggest obstacle that you have ever had to overcome in your life?
Um, the biggest
Crazy
ob-
question, right?
the biggest obstacle I would say is confidence in mental health. Um, always have been a person that has never wanted to brag. I'm just a humble person, a humble kid from Park, Maryland. It's my thought process all the time. So, I never really talk about any accomplishments, even sometimes when you should, you should put it out there. But then also, I wasn't a great orator to communicate, and so I could talk about everything else, but I couldn't talk about my own personal feelings and struggles. And so you hold it inside, and I held it inside for years and years and years, and that put a strain on how I saw the world, and a strain on how I dealt with people, and you put enough darkness in your heart and your soul, sometimes it's going to come out. And if you don't do the things that you need to do to make sure that they come out correctly, it can put you in a bad light. So I learned how to not be scared to talk about what struggles, not be afraid to be a man that can talk and understand that a man can cry, and not to think that silence is the only way for a man to move forward. And I talk about this all the time. Is that strength is based in us being comfortable with who we are, and so I finally found that, and that was the biggest struggle to overcome.
Wow, that's huge, man, because you are the second black man in the last 24 hours that came on this show and said exactly what you just said as far as being able to express our emotions. And I think that is extremely important because, I remember growing up and basically having to be tough and having to tough look like something different, right? Tough to me looks like me crying in front of my kids and them seeing me and they're like, "Hey dad, what's wrong?" And me being like honest, like I'm sad about this, or I'm getting ready to go and talk to my counselor. To me, that is tough, man. And I want to say thank you to you for being so vulnerable and showing us your toughness. That really resonated with me because I've I've had a problem with celebrating the wins, right? I felt very uncomfortable when I first started the show and I was talking about where the podcast is at. Like I like really freaking uncomfortable. And to hear that somebody else like struggle with that. Do you still struggle with that?
Still struggle with it. I struggle with me being celebrated. I struggle
Yeah.
with me talking about my accomplishments and things that I've done, and it's not frustrating to me, but also to sometimes others around me, and say, "Here, you should be talking about this. This is something great that you did." And for me, it's always been okay. I'm on to the next instead of taking the time to sit down and enjoy the fruits of my labor sometimes. And I think it's a work in progress.
Wow. And that's probably why you're so successful, because you're on to the next, man. I love that, man. This has been an honor. Where can the viewers and the listeners, what can they reach out to you? How can we find you?
Yeah, on social media, everywhere, it's at Ray Leonard Jr. And on every platform. My website is rayleonardjr.com. And you can always go into ovations.com and check out the new project. We just have the landing page, the sample landing page. But if you want to be a part of that first alpha launch, go in there and sign up for talent, sign up for event booker. And, you can tell us what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong until we get to this MVP.
I love it. I love you. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. Will you hang out real quick and I'll close us out?
My man, Tony, thank you for what you do, brother. Yeah.
Oh, no, I cut you out. I worry.
No, I was giving you your flowers, man. I love what you do. You inspire a lot of people, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for saying that. See, I couldn't hear that, man. See, I don't want to hear nothing good about me. I accidentally cut you out. But all right, man. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right. That was amazing. Ray Leonard Jr. One thing that I love about him, I love his transparency. I love how transparent he is about the obstacles that he's had to overcome. I love the fact that he's paying it forward. He's given the gift of voice to the military. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he has next with this Ovations project. Is definitely something that I'm going to check out. Something that I want you to check out is Leaders Lead the Podcast. Check it out. Where was I going with that? Man, I have these moments. It's like these senior moments, these 38-year-old moments. But on that note, I am going to close. I hope y'all have a good night and see you next week. Whew, that was great. If you enjoyed this podcast, well, I'm sure you enjoyed it. If you're still here with us, what I want you to do is head over to your favorite podcast and streaming network and give us a download, subscribe to the channel, and also let us know what you think about the show. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you for the things that you've done. Thank you for the things that you're doing. And especially thank you for the things that you're going to do, because I know that you're going to do something amazing.